You were in the pool? Why? I had to question the mermaids. Everybody, welcome on into the Broccoli Horror Picture Show. I am Kristen.
I'm Emma.
I'm Nick.
And today we're talking about The Nice Guys from 2016. Directed by Shane Black. But before we jump on in, how's everybody been? We've had a bit of a busy few days. We're a little late recording this.
We have just a whole week late. That was my bad.
I didn't know that.
I am good. I'm doing better. I was sick last week, but this week spirits are high because feeling good, and the weather is giving me a will to live. It's been lovely. Took both of my nieces to dance these past 2 weekends. This is literally the only thing that I did. And this weekend I took my 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old niece to her dance class, and I drove her. I picked her up, and she was insulting me in the best way that I've ever heard. A couple times. Okay. I pulled out of their driveway. I slightly scraped a bush at the end of their driveway because I'm not good at reversing, and I haven't done their driveway that often. And I told her about it because I'm honest. I'm an honest aunt with my niece. I talk to her like she's my age. And she says quietly at first and then louder after I asked her, well, that's why my dad goes carefully out of the driveway. And then I asked her, I said, what'd you say? And she said, that's why my dad goes carefully out of the driveway.
Oh, man.
And then later she goes, Emma, I didn't even know you knew how to drive. And I was like,
brutal.
Monroe, do most adults know how to drive? And almost instantaneously she goes, you're an adult? And that's how I found out that she thinks of me as a peer and not as an authority figure in her life.
Yeah, but good for you. You look so young.
Yeah, I'm actually just super, super youthful. And that's why I wanted to share that. Look at this.
And you're a great driver for your age.
You're a great driver for a really tall 5.
She's driving one of those little Tykes cars with the feet at the bottom. All right, Monroe, get in.
But yeah, that was the highlight of my week, I'd say. What about you guys?
I went back-to-back weekends with friends' engagement parties.
Oh, congrats to your friends.
Thank you. I have nothing left in the tank. I'm the tiredest boy in the world.
He's the eepiest boy ever.
I'm John Tuckered.
Oh my god.
I must die.
Is it warm in your neck of the woods these days?
Yeah, 70s.
Wow. And you just had like a snow day, one of the last few recordings we did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big turnaround. We really made a comeback here.
Yeah. Good for you guys.
Big for North Carolina to get some warmth.
Unheard of.
Never been done before.
Kristen?
My birthday was last week, so I had a little party.
Birthday.
We had a Jeopardy at a local bar that my husband Pat hosted, and Emma was there.
I was. We came in third. I was on Kristen's team.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised because the questions so hard.
So hard. We did really well though.
And it was also our friend Mary's birthday, so shout out Mary.
Shout out Mary.
Shout out Mary. You and Mary got some crucial questions right too. The birthday girls were crushing.
We kind of were.
You were?
Mary and I exchanged selfies for her birthday.
That's so sweet. This is a Mary
around here.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is a Mary loving podcast.
This week we're just talking about Mary. Just
Mary, wherever you are,
we know about her.
We love you, and we know you're out there.
Don't know if you're listening, but maybe.
Please.
So, with all that being said, this movie was not my choice this week.
No,
this movie was my choice this week.
Kristen.
My choice. I lost my notes again. I'm Doing terrible. My
I can't
cat
believe you
also.
swindled me into watching a Russell Crowe movie.
Again.
Well, okay, wait. we need to get into first impressions, because why do you hate Russell Crowe so much? What was your first impression?
Les Mis. Oh, well, my first impression of Russell Crowe wasn't Les Mis, but that's the movie that did it for me.
What was your first impression of Russell Crowe then?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have memories of him. He's always
you
just
hate
kind of been
Because
around.
you hate Gladiator.
I've never seen Gladiator, but I did see the second one.
Noted.
I needed to have seen the first, but I watched the second one anyway. First impressions of this movie. I actually hadn't heard of this movie before we were going to do it. And I like Ryan Gosling a lot. So that made up, 50-50, like it balances out in the middle of my hate for Russell Crowe and my like for Ryan Gosling. I thought the cover was groovy. That's it. That's all the impressions I had.
Okay. Nick, I think you said you saw this before, but do you remember your first impression going in?
I think this is maybe my 5th time watching this movie. I saw it in theaters.
Oh my God.
This is one of those movies that anytime I pass it on a service, if I'm like having a lazy day, especially like hungover or something, this is an easy go-to where it's just like, if you lock in and watch the whole thing, it's great. If you just have it on, it's great. You can kind of watch it in any state. And it's just like you're hanging out. And it feels like Ryan Gosling, if you're hungover, is hungover along with you in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like another dude on the couch hanging out hungover.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think my first impression was seeing the trailer and immediately being like, that dude's rock.
Mm-hmm.
What year did this movie come out again?
2016.
Okay.
Going into it, I saw it in theaters, I think with an ex-boyfriend that, like, I don't remember them being there at all, but
you were too locked in.
I was so locked into the movie. And I remember
you left without him.
I honestly might have, because by the end of it, I was like, golly, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I can't believe it. And it was so good I turned Southern. I went into it the same way Emma did, because I was like, man, Russell Crowe was garbage in the Les Mis movie. I don't want to see him. Then he whips out this American accent in this one, and you're like, well, wait a minute.
He was perfect in this role. I'll say it. I'll give it to him.
Yeah. I agree. So let me give a little synopsis, aka what I think IMDb has down on this as a plot synopsis. So the movie follows Holland March, Ryan Gosling in parentheses, who's a struggling private eye in 1977 Los Angeles. Jackson Healy, Russell Crowe in parentheses, is a hired enforcer who hurts people for a living. Fate turns them into an unlikely partnership after a young woman named Amelia Margaret Qualley mysteriously disappears. Healy and March soon learn the hard way that some dangerous people are also looking for Amelia. Their investigation takes them to dark places, as anyone else who gets involved in the case seems to wind up dead. Now, we don't start the movie that way. We start the movie with a porn star getting killed. as any 70s style movie would.
Yep. And a little boy finding her and gracefully covering her titties with his shirt.
I thought this was such a funny detail that just I learned in watching like interviews after I watched the movie this time, because I never really saw anything from behind the scenes before. The director is very much, everything has to have a yes and. It has to have but this happens when there's one action or one thing in the movie. So every little detail throughout this film is so intentional, down to the smallest detail, that it's crazy when it comes back up again and you get the follow through on those details, that you're like, I completely forgot about this. This is crazy. And we'll go through a couple of them, but that's the synopsis we get into here. And I want to know, how do we feel about our main characters and how they're introduced as well?
So I mean, immediately it's just like, I don't want to say classic, but you kind of get your good cop, bad cop right away, where you're like, it's not classic in a way that they both have elements of good cop and elements of bad cop, and they like play that 1-2 punch role in different times. Where at certain times you're like, okay, this is clearly Ryan Gosling is the good cop and Russell Crowe's the bad cop, and it's clearly the other way around sometimes, but they're never playing the same role at the same time. And I feel like right off the bat, you get them with their flaws. Like your main characters are right away shown in their like full state of like, they're not perfect, they're not heroes, they're not admirable, they're just like
Yeah, they're just people.
just some fellas trying to make it work.
Just some guy fully clothed in a bathtub.
Just trying to get through the day.
That's how I start my day. I don't know about you guys. Full suit in the bathtub.
I mean, that is the worst texture nightmare of all time. Is a full suit.
And then he's just like right into taking the job from the woman, and he's just like, her husband's clearly dead.
Yeah. How long has he been missing? Oh, since the funeral. You just look over, his urn is there. You're like, oh, so this is the kind of jobs we're getting. And I think it really shows March's character and just how much of a joke his entire being is set up to be. I wrote down at some point in my notes, this movie should also alternately be called Ryan Gosling's character gets his shit rocked for 2 hours.
100%.
This character goes through so much physical, emotional, any kind of abuse and pain, but he comes out of it, and he even makes a joke about it towards the end of the movie that he thinks he's invincible. But
yeah, there are a few physical comedy moments that made me laugh out loud, sitting on the couch by myself during this movie.
Yeah.
Specifically with him.
I think this, more than anything, was the role that sold everyone that Ryan Gosling can be a great comedic actor. And I think he'd definitely been into comedy stuff before this. I think was Crazy Stupid Love before this.
I think it was. I feel like that was like 2011 or 12, if I guess.
But I feel like this, like, he really shined in the comedy in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I
being
really
like more the butt
that.
of the joke in this.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Crazy Stupid Love, he's the cool guy that's there to make Steve Carell ridiculous. And in this one, he was definitely the ridiculous one.
I think we also we start off strong with Margaret Qualley just being a young girl with all these random people after her, and us not knowing anything about that.
Yes.
I seeing it for the first time, I thought this was super weird. I was like, what kind of young girl has this amount of attention on her? And I mean, we learn, but
yeah.
I was really into my innocent little mind on that part.
I know this is interesting because you guys have seen the movie so many times, and this was my first time watching. So I feel like I am going to be missing a lot of subtle details on the first watch that you guys are catching. So I'm just sitting back and relaxing and enjoying this episode of this movie.
Holland March is contracted by Misty Mountain's aunt because she believes she is still alive because she saw her 2 days after the car accident that killed her. And March takes this on, and he's kind of like, I don't think we're going to get anywhere, but I'll take your money, which seems to be his MO for most clients. Him and his young daughter, Holly, are living in what seems to be too nice of a house for the two of them, as he's clearly also widowed. We learn that pretty early on as well.
There's a very funny part here where it just stood out to me this time that I watched it. The aunt calls her Misty Mountains when
Yeah.
she's referring to her. I'm like,
Yeah.
is that not a porn name? Is that just her actual name?
Her birth name.
She's like, "Oh, my Misty." I'm like, "I don't think that's her government name."
Is that the government?
There's
Yeah.
no way. Unless her job was predetermined at birth.
Yeah,
who
that's
she would be.
crazy. Her parents
That's
set her up for
hilarious.
success, I guess.
There's nothing like a great child actor to make a movie that much better.
What a
Yeah.
crazy time. What a crazy time to talk about child acting.
Oh,
I was like, where is she going with this?
not Misty Mountains.
You're
She was an
going
adult.
back to Holly.
I'm going back to the child that's in this film throughout.
Yes. Yes.
Who the whole time I was like, how do I know this child? Where have I seen this child before? She was in the Mean Girls remake
Oh.
as the main character of Lindsay Lohan, well, of Catty Heron. And I just had to point that out. It bothered me the whole, I didn't even get it till after the movie. But she was a child in this, and and she was fantastic. And I think the movie would not have been the same without her and Ryan Gosling's relationship.
Yeah, I really love the two of them and their father-daughter chemistry throughout this entire movie. I think there's something about a bumbling father figure and a more competent daughter and or son
Yes.
to complement each other. I think that's such a fun dynamic to write on, and I think they really fully explore that here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so then Jackson Healy, Russell Crowe's character, is introduced, and he's introduced with Margaret Qualley's character, I believe, because she hires him to get these random people off her back. There's people trying to find her. We also find out that March is one of the people trying to find Amelia, which is how March and Healy meet. March and Healy's meeting is one of, I think, the greatest scenes in all of cinema, but I am very biased and I really love this movie. So the premise is that Healy goes to March's house on Amelia's orders because she knows March is following her, and goes to tell him to leave her alone. And in the process, beats him up, breaks his arm, and then gets a yoo-hoo from his daughter on the way out. How do we feel about this?
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's your first time seeing it, so I'm curious what you thought of
Yeah, Emma, we're
their
looking to
dynamic.
you because you haven't seen it. You're like,
Oh,
I'm
see,
relaxing.
I'm waiting to hear your takes because you guys love this movie. Yeah, I thought it was perfect. I felt a visceral reaction because he had already hurt his arm so bad in the first scene that we're introduced to Ryan Gosling that when he broke his arm on top of it, that was chills in a bad way. But yeah, I loved seeing these two characters meeting. It was, yeah, I agree with you. It was a perfect setup for their relationship.
Yeah, they're like every time I watch this movie, their somehow on-screen chemistry just seems better than the last time I watched it. Like the way they're able to just talk over each other through the script and just like bounce off each other is so incredible that it feels, I don't even want to say effortless, because it feels like they're actually trying really hard but are just really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just, every time one goes to make like a snarky comment, the timing of cutting the other one off feels so natural and so incredible that it's just like, I don't even know how you would write it without it just working that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, you see how hard they're working in these roles, but it also feels so natural at the same time. Like you're saying, it feels like they walked onto that set and this just happened while the cameras were rolling. It didn't even feel like, and I think that's also a testament to the writing, that it was so good it felt natural. So
yeah, I think I think with Russell Crowe, he's played this role so many times that he almost has come full circle on it, that he can poke fun at it, that he like is so aware of the tropes that are associated with it, that he's done it over and over again, that he's like conscious of what he would be doing and can kind of spin that on itself. And for Ryan Gosling, if you put him, especially we were talking about around this time with, other stuff he did like The Big Short around this time too, where he just like he's kind of playing these roles where he's like super out there and like such a big character, but he's so likable, like frustratingly likable all the time, that even when he's like being the worst, you kind of like him. And even when Russell Crowe's being kind of likable, you kind of still think he's an asshole.
Yeah.
So it kind of works that like innately Ryan Gosling character is like a more of an asshole in this movie, because he's like kind of just being a shitty dad and like taking people's money, but he's so likable that you're just like, aw.
Yeah.
You
You're
want
like,
him
oh,
to
he's a
you
good
want him to
dad. He loves
Mhm.
her.
he's nice to his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
you're
know that
right.
he's
He's an
necessarily
objectively bad father.
Yes,
And she
he's
tells him to his face multiple times.
Yeah.
and
I also love the trope that Russell Crowe has in this. It is in the Soprano. It's like Tony Soprano too, where they'll hurt anybody and they're like pieces of shit, but when it comes to children, like that's their hard line, where they are just completely kind and benevolent to children, but everybody else they'll do whatever.
It's a lot like when we did LA Confidential. Russell Crowe's character like just kicked the shit out of everyone in that movie, but would not touch a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
The man's got barriers.
He does.
Every one of his characters needs a line. Man's got to have a code.
And a child's a good one to have, I'd say.
Children and women seem to be good lines to have, not to cross.
No, beat the women up like the men. That's equality.
This is feminism.
It's Women's History Month. We can say whatever we want.
It's Women's History Month. Punch me in the face. I don't know.
Kick my ass, Russell Crowe. See what happens.
See what happens. Okay.
A man can beat me up. It's Women's History Month.
Look, if you're gonna beat the man up next to me, at least beat me up too. I don't know.
That's what equality is.
That's all we're fighting for in this country. That's the only problem that we have in this country.
We're fighting
right
to
now.
fight. You're gonna let me step in a boxing ring with a man. That's what I want.
It's my bucket list for 2025.
Oh my God. My bucket list for 2026: survive.
First bullet point, let me into the boxing match. Second bullet point, let me survive.
Yeah. That's all I want. That's all I want. Anyway, Holland and Jackson, they kind of really reluctantly join forces to find out what Amelia's deal is. Amelia goes missing. We can't find her. And we're starting to learn she's involved with a lot of shady people. And shady people include this really weird Sacha Baron Cohen looking guy and Keith David. And I wrote down at one point, I was like, I could not believe the side quests Keith David has been on in his entire career, because every time I watch this movie, I forget he's in it, and then he shows up, and I'm like, where did you come from?
Every movie he's in.
Every
single
movie
he's in.
Yes.
His suit fucking rocks in this movie too.
I don't know what it like. Him in 70s garb really did it for me. I was like, this makes so much sense. This
Came
feels
through in
right.
the ketchup and mustard suit.
Yeah. This comes right after Russell Crowe's character gets a yoo-hoo from Holly, because he goes back, I think it's to his apartment, ? I've seen this movie so many times, I still don't know. And he is now carrying a full case of glass yoo-hoo bottles, which is where he meets the two like gang members, let's call them, and they just knock him to the ground with the full case of yoo-hoos, and it is the most tragic. It's so Tragic. A whole case of Yoo-Hoo's
What
gone.
a waste.
I like to picture he had just like a normal like small pack of Yoo-Hoos and somebody was like on set like we gotta go bigger. We gotta get more. And they just kept getting more and more Yoo-Hoos until he just had like a full armful.
Must have been heavy too. There were a lot.
How did the box
Yeah.
sustain that?
I've no clue. I do think
drink.
it's endearing that Healy doesn't drink for the most part, and I think that's another reason he went hard on the Yoo-Hoos, because he was like, man, I haven't had one of these in forever. Might as well get 20 of them. I think that was a funny detail.
We're gonna have to do like a tally of all the movies we watch and see what actor we have the most overlapping in all the movies we pick. Because Margaret Qualley's 2, Russell Crowe's 2.
Keith David.
Keith David is
Keith
actually
David.
we just don't notice, and he's in every single movie that we cover.
That
We only do Keith David movies.
oh my god, guys! Princess and the Frog next.
We just cover the first 5 minutes of Nope, and then don't do the rest of it.
Oh my god! We don't tell anybody why.
No.
We just do the first 5 minutes. This is a Keith David podcast now.
Wait, back to where we're at in the movie.
Yes.
This scene where they're just kicking the shit out of him in his apartment. He grabs that fish very impressively out of the tank.
I have the same thing written down. My favorite thing in this line is Healy going very quietly, "Oh no, not the fish."
I know. Again, like the Yoo-Hoo, so inconsequential, so devastating that the fish are chosen.
As if it's a criminal offense, like that he took.
I don't think I've ever
out.
heard it because I think I say it at the same time he does every single time.
Because what's the motivation there? You see a fish tank and you just, I'm gonna tell this man to eat a fucking fish because that's what he does.
He just wants it to hurt. He just wants it to be as emotionally hurtful as he can.
And but the very sad, weak sound of the fish hitting Healy and then hitting the wall too.
It's too real. I feel like they used real fish, and I feel like that's illegal.
No, I would hope not.
The sound, it was too real. Or the Foley artists are just doing their best work.
Yeah, they went on to do the substance, actually.
Margaret Qualley got them on.
She said, "Oh, I know some people."
She said, "You need a Foley artist? You need squelching? Just watch The Nice Guys, all right? I have the team for you."
Been there, done that.
They were sitting there drinking a Yoo-Hoo together watching the scene.
They said, yeah.
They heard that fish thump. They were like, oh, we gotta hire him. It's a done deal.
We've got what we're looking for, folks. It's right here. I think after this, we go to the lovely birthday party scene that is at a bowling alley. And I think is it Holly's or one of Holly's friends that they're there for?
I think it's a friend.
I believe it's her friend. And at one point, March says to one of the, or like just out loud goes, "Jesus Christ." And the one girl looks at him and goes, "You took the Lord's name in vain." And he says, "No, I didn't, Janet. I found it very useful, actually." Okay, Janet.
That's a good quote from this.
There's so many here that I also love just the setup of a bowling alley kid's birthday party, because I've been to so many of those, and I'm sure you guys have at some point as well. Just like
Nope, I've never bowled. I'm kidding.
Emma?
I'm kidding. Never once.
But like something about those like bent particle board booths that like you sit in that are so uncomfortable and you're eating cake with all your friends and stuff. I love that setup. I also love that Holly sits down with Holland and March when with Healy and March, and says, I need to get the wording right. March goes, "What are you doing here?" And she goes, "Giving you a rim job."
Oh my god, yes.
And
That's
he has to
Also-
like correct her.
There's the
Also-
other part here where I think we already passed it, but we're learning about Healy's divorce, and his ex-wife just goes, "Jack, I'm fucking your dad."
He accepted the betrayal with equanimity because Healy does like the daily quotes on his calendar, and it's just this quick cutaway. It's the immediate payoff of that detail. It's so funny. And he's just sitting there. What? What? It's such an honest little moment. I love it.
Also, we talked about how insane it is that Holland named his daughter Holly.
Yeah.
I find it like, Nick, that'd be like if you had a daughter and you just named her Nikki.
I mean,
Hey.
I feel like people do it though.
I know, but I feel like I don't know why I thought it was so silly throughout this whole movie.
It
That
does
You ever
feel
seen
silly.
George Foreman's kids' names?
No.
No.
He named like 8 of his kids George Foreman,
Oh,
No, he-
including
no.
girls.
No.
One of them is Georgette, I think.
Well, I mean, that is a name.
He didn't even go for
Yeah,
Georgia
but I think some of them are just
Like
George
Georgette.
Foreman too.
That's crazy.
or Will and Jada having Willow and Jaden as their children. It's certainly a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually exactly like that. It's exactly like that if Holland was the kid's name, because Willow and Jaden are
Longer.
way further off than their
Mm.
their parents' names are like normal names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Holly's-
Yeah.
If you were Holly and you named your kid Holland, that would be less surprising than if your name was Holland and you named your kid Holly.
Mm.
Hmm.
I can see that.
So my son's name is going to be Emmett.
I put myself in
That's-
the pretzel
that's
and
nice.
I lost it.
I'm overthinking this. I'm overthinking this now. I guess
It's
I
just like
felt
the
like it was
run-
weird. Maybe it's not that
It's like
weird.
the runtime of God, what was the Everybody Wants Some? When I just blended myself last week.
Whoops.
Sorry, I derailed us.
No,
Dive
no,
back
you're
in.
fine. You're fine. Healy and March here are trying to go over the deal with Amelia. What's going on? Why are these people after her? Where do they think they can find her? And they find out that she's somehow been involved in this adult film. I don't want to call it business, but it is a business.
Industry. Yeah.
Industry. Okay, so they follow her connection to a mysterious film and they discover Misty's death is not accidental, which we kind of figured,
Mm-hmm.
but this is kind of the first of I want to say snowball of deaths in this film that just starts to roll forward and forward and forward and forward. And Misty's is kind of not even anywhere near the worst of them. All right, the birds are dying. Jackson and Holland go to Amelia's protest group because that's where they think they can find her. They cannot find her there, and they say she's probably at her boyfriend's house. And they go to the boyfriend's house, and it's burnt to a crispity crisp because and
Burnt
he
to a
is.
Krispy Kreme.
Have you ever had a Krispy Kreme? Was it crispy? We learn the boyfriend's dead. The boyfriend is working in quote unquote experimental film, and
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of learning that's, not an accident. But again, this kid comes by on a bike and they kind of ask him to help with information. And he says, oh, they were working with this guy named Sid Hat Rack, but we learn it's Shattuck later. It kind of just sounds like Hat Rack.
And they were like, "What'd you do, kid?" He goes, "Offered to show my dick." 'Cause
Oh yeah.
I got a big dick.
I wrote that down too. Yeah. And then
This gave
and,
out a lot of information for them.
so much.
He knew
And
what was going on.
March just goes, well, that's very nice. And like they give him, or I think they offer to give him money for information. Then he was like, so you guys want to see my dick at the end of it? And they're like, no, we don't want to see your dick. You're like, we
That's so
just
good.
wanted information. That's all we wanted.
A little interaction that made me laugh when they were back to the protest when they're on their way there, and Holland and Healy have like a little back and forth where he's like, Russell Crowe's like, why do you think she'll be here? And he's like, because this is her protest group. And he can't, Ryan Gosling can't wrap his head around that there's a chance she won't be there because it's her protest group that she.
My favorite part of this is that they're in front of all of the people having this argument.
Just on the ground.
And March's only argument is that this is her protest group.
This is her protest group.
And Healy has to go like several times. Okay, but she also like could not be here.
And then they're all like, we're dead. We're dead. And then the people, he's like, well, you have a gas mask on. Wouldn't you have survived with the gas mask?
And then they just look at him. They're like, I don't know. Fuck it, I guess. And then I think it's either March or Healy. One of them steps on somebody's hand and they go,
again,
ow, fucker.
The Foley artist working overtime for that crunch.
Yeah. Stepping on carrots, you know?
Eating Nestle.
Yeah. After we see the burnt down house, we are back into Healy and March driving around. They're going somewhere. My only reason I'm bringing this up is I adore this movie so much. The car green screen looks so bad upon like multiple watches. I notice it more and more every time. I'm like, this is such a green screen. All I can see is the shadows behind their hair and stuff. And I know I'm not supposed to look at that, but I've seen this movie enough times that I'm like, oh, that doesn't look great.
It's gonna start festering. You're gonna start resenting the movie the more you watch
No,
it. The green screen, you're gonna start to have nightmares about it. It's gonna get in your way.
Please, no. Oh, so they go back to March's house, I believe, and Holly's there. And I think Healy's waiting outside for them. And Holly goes like, oh, why don't we let him in? And March goes, oh, no animals in the house, sweetheart. Which I think is another great quote. Yeah. And in order to find Sid Shattuck now, this is their next lead, is he the owner of the studios, I guess, that are making these experimental films. We learn that they're having a party and the guys are like, oh, we're going to go to this party. We're going to find Sid Shattuck and get all our information out of him. And Holly wants to go, which, first of all, I think that's crazy to want to go with them.
I don't. I get it. She wants to be part of the action. Ooh, what's that noise?
I know.
Sorry.
Is that
it just stopped?
It did.
It might have been me. I think I touched the back of my mic.
Oh.
You were caressing the back of your mic.
No, I touched the wire.
Oh, okay. Because it was like ramping up a little bit. I was
was.
Is my computer about to blow up?
Well, now I know not to touch that.
No, you're fine.
We take 1 week off. We can't pull it back together.
And that's my fault. Because I don't know what
to push us off.
No, and then I did. So.
All right, we're great.
Okay. Holly wants to go to this party. They tell her no. They go to the party. They go to the valet at the party, hear knocking from the trunk, and of course it's Holly who is tagged along. Another fun father-daughter detail, I guess, moment. He just shuts the trunk and gives the keys to the valet, and the valet's like, "Sir, I can't take your car like this." Holly ends up going along, and here we see a quote where she goes, "Dad, there's like whores here and stuff," and he tells her, "Don't say and stuff, just say there's whores here."
Yeah.
This
So
is a
good.
joke that the and stuff comes back again, and I think it's really funny.
Yeah.
There's so much happening throughout this whole scene, and choosing to go, "I'm gonna correct my daughter's grammar," is a wild move.
And you're so ready for him to say, "Don't say whores."
Yeah.
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 Perfect setup. A part that made me laugh out loud in this scene, this was the physical comedy part that killed me, was when he's getting drunker and he's talking to the girl and he does like a backflip off the ledge of the roof or like deck that they were on, and he's trying to be funny and like make her laugh, and he's showing like pretending to be shot, and he does a roll off, and I guess he just didn't realize how high up he was. And he rolls off the back and gone. He's absolutely disappeared. It just
Gone.
falls behind, and then you see him rolling down a giant hill. I thought he could have broken every bone in his body. It
Yeah.
was perfect.
Again, Ryan Gosling getting his shit rocked for 2 hours.
Shit absolutely rocked. Maybe the worst of the movie, besides when he
Oh,
slits his wrist in the beginning by accident punching him in the door.
there's another one coming up that's also pretty bad, but
This
yeah.
this whole party scene is just like shocks me how early it comes every time when I watch this movie, because it's so much the heart of this movie is like this scene and like
Yeah.
that fall specifically.
Mhm.
Like when you think of this movie, it's like such a standout, such a big, like it almost feels like they hit their like crescendo at this point, and
Mhm.
then there's like more than half the there's like you're like halfway through the movie,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
like
You're
all the
so
actual
right.
stuff needs to happen still, but you're like, when you think of the movie, you think of this part. You think of the mermaids, you think of the fall, you think of, I mean, all of it. Like even Holly just being there, like
Mhm.
it feels like there would only be about 15 minutes left when you remember this movie, but you're only like an hour in.
An
Yeah.
hour in. Yeah, it feels like the rest of the movie is like the falling action, even though it's not.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You learn here he can't smell too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a random little fun part that comes back for you.
Right. And again, it's information that you feel is such a throwaway in the moment that when it comes back later on, you're like, "Holy shit, I didn't think this was that pivotal to the story."
Yeah. It's just such a
So,
silly little detail.
right, right. One thing I want to mention, the opening of this party where there's like a clear Earth, Wind, and Fire knockoff made me chuckle so hard. I forgot about it. And I was just like, "Oh, yeah, and Earth, Wind, and Fire 2.0 is here."
Yeah.
When March does his ceremonious backflip out off of a two-story balcony and down a gigantic hill, he ends up finding a body at the base of a tree. Somewhere around this, I forget if it's before or after, he sees Amelia but doesn't know it's Amelia because he's
Mhm.
like drunk and he just fell and rolled how far. And I think he's going around. He's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just looking for my gun," because he's still drunk too. And she runs away, and then we find out that there is this dead body down there, and March is sitting directly next to it, up against a tree. And I think it's so funny the way he looks over up the hill, and he can't speak, but he's like beating his chest and trying to say Healy. I Again, it's another, it feels like a weird acting choice at the second it starts,
Yeah.
but you're like, "No, wait, this is probably how a real person would react." They would like
Yeah, yeah.
speechless, you're in shock.
Uh-huh.
But it's
Got
so
nothing.
funny just to hear him go, Haley.
He is really broken. I mean, he's just like he's so hammered in this scene.
Oh,
feel
out
like
of his
usually-
mind.
I feel like usually when people are like, in movies are either like drunk and dysfunctional or like underplaying how drunk the character is. He is trying to play like shoot the gap of like hammered and functional, and it's
Yeah.
coming off hilariously in this scene.
Yeah. And Hilly comes down and helps March dispose of the body, which they try to do behind a fence. This is where they where we find out that March can't smell. And they're just like talking about it, and they throw this body over the fence. They find out the body is Sid Shattuck, who was their next intended person of interest. And they throw his body over a fence onto a Alice in Wonderland style tea party that's happening directly onto a table, and everybody freaks the fuck out, like obviously, and so they end up running from there.
What if that was a
And
murder mystery party and they
I would love
happened
that.
to throw a body onto a murder mystery party as it was going on? Sorry, I just
That
had
would
that thought.
be that would be so crazy.
It
I
would
would
be
kind
kinda
of love that
perfect.
though. Yeah, right. I had a thought that was like, what teenager goes to a party like this? And I mean young teenager, which Holly is, I want to say she's probably like 13-ish, but I don't know if we say that at any point.
Yeah, I was guessing like 12, but maybe
Right.
you're right. She could be a little older.
Somewhere around there is what
Mhm.
we're assuming. What kid goes to a party like that and isn't immediately thrown out? And I get everybody's out of their mind, but I feel like a child, again, is a pretty good place to draw a line there instead of sitting her down with other people and going, oh, let's watch a porno that I was in.
I don't know, it was the 70s. If there's any time period it was gonna be she was gonna get to stay at that party, it's probably then.
Again, true. Like, and that's why I was kind of like, it's like a double-edged sword because I'm
Yeah.
like, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, damn, really?
Yeah. They should know better.
They should. Should is the big word, obviously, but
This party just feels so surreal. I almost am in like a suspend disbelief phase here where I'm just like, this feels like it exists in another world when they're at this party.
it feels like a
I
dream sequence.
I
The
think
whole
it's the
movie
mermaids
does
that
to
really
an
make it feel
extent.
that way, but
Yeah. And the architecture of the house,
yeah.
which I feel like the 70s were really the only era that 70s and maybe 80s were the only times these homes like this would have existed. After this, I think we end up back at the March house, which I'm not sure if we learn at this point is a rental because the old house burned down. And this is where we have previously seen Holly mapping out or reading. She goes there to read, and she still knows the whole layout of the old house, but they're in a rental until the house gets rebuilt. And Healy goes to March at their rental house, and he's smoking cigarettes off the diving board of the empty pool, which is now what Healy says is the world's biggest ashtray. And Healy kind of gives him some exposition, some backstory, hoping that he's going to get through to March, only to see that March has fallen asleep on the diving board, which, again, hilarious. But
Yeah, the cut works so well.
Just to him snoring. We find out that the case now involves a specific film that Amelia, Misty, Sid Shattuck, and the boyfriend were all making to expose Amelia's Amelia's father is a part of this corrupt car company that I think is it the fuel or the catalytic converters that something's gonna cause a big ruckus and they want to make a statement about it. So they made a porno to make a statement about it. And you made a porno for the plot is the quote. And I think that's wild, but we learned that's why people are dying. That's kind of everything is revolving around this film that was made, and nobody knows where this film is.
Mm-hmm.
And Healy and March are then hired / meet with Amelia's mother, who works for the Department of Justice,
Mm-hmm.
which also wild setup for Amelia to have a corrupt car company father and a Department of Justice mother.
Yep.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah.
And the mother contracts them, like, just find my daughter, bring her home. We meet her assistant, Tally. They're tasked to track her down and keep her alive, all while they're also learning. They learn at the party because we also meet Keith David again at the party.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I'm skipping so much important stuff. Kill me. Don't.
This movie does such a good job of twisting me up where it's like, I remember thinking the first time I watched it, like, it seems pretty obvious that it's a twist somewhere that the mom is like not this nice, perfect person.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, is this movie like so goofy that it's just gonna follow that like obvious plot twist
Mm-hmm.
and then just go that way, or is it serious? Because you kind of get a little bit of both of this movie because it's such strong writing, but it's also such goofy characters
Yeah.
that you can't. It's almost so obvious that if you like twist yourself around trying to figure out if it's just too obvious that it's going to go that way, or if it's
Mm-hmm.
going to twist and turn in other ways. So it's
Right.
it's like it does such a good job of it being goofy but serious. So you're like, I don't know which way I even think this script's going to go or this movie's going to go at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Even though it seems blatant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the twist, I feel like you're so right. Like initially I was like, well, the mom's going to be bad. This feels obvious. Like when they meet with her, but then but it's also just so engaging every scene. So then you also like, I thought that, but then the minute it moved on, I didn't really, not that I didn't care, but I just wasn't caught up in it. I wasn't continuing to think about when the twist was going to come or if it was going to come. You just are kind of like along for the ride. And so it almost doesn't matter if it's obvious or if it's something else that's going to happen. It's just like you're so engaged the whole way.
It's not about the twist, it's about the characters.
Yeah.
It's about the fun we had along the way.
It's about the friends we made.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
I also loved how enamored March is with Tally every time that he sees her. That's
Every
like a
time.
really low-key hilarious part.
He's just like, damn, a beautiful woman's not going to keep me from anything.
It's so funny because they like overplay so many of the jokes in this movie, and then this part they like really understate and like low key make this like super important detail of him being in love with her.
Yes.
Like very quiet and calm in the background.
Yeah. Oh, so at the end of the party, we kind of Amelia escapes the gangster who was there before. I don't know what to call him exactly, but they chase her, and it's kind of like I think we get the reveal that John Boy is coming. I forget how long into this movie we wait for new characters to be introduced. Also crazy. After the party and after the guys are contracted to keep Amelia safe by her mother, they let's see, where do they go? Are they at the motel at this point? Hum, hum, hum.
Yeah, it's the hotel.
The hotel or the motel or the Holiday Inn?
But then they end up at the March's house is where, like, if you're talking about the Matt Bomer scene.
Yeah. But how did we? Oh. They're trying to find Amelia, and she has this piece of paper with information on it that says like flat/flight number. They have a gag of like trying to find an apartment building that is no longer an apartment building. They think it's a flight, so they think they missed her, but it turns out it's the airport hotel. And they am I skipping forward? Guys, I feel like I'm fucking this up, dude.
You're fine. No, they
But do they go there before they go back to the house and we meet Jumbo?
Yeah.
Because they go to the
'cause they're-
penthouse and then they come back down
Mhm.
and leave?
Yeah, so they go to the house, they like Holly's there, and they have the other girl. The other girl ends up coming over, and they go to the hotel,
Right.
and then when they
And
come back,
right. So the guys, they go up or they go to the bar because they're like, where are we supposed to go? The guy
Yeah.
at the bar is like, well, I don't really want to tell you. And another good gag here is, if you tell you what we want, he'll stop doing it. And then the barman goes, stop doing what? And Healy smashes his head into the bar. He's like, we could do this the easy way, or we're currently doing it the easy way. So, and so the barman tells them to go up to the penthouse. And I think another scene that gets played a lot from this movie is the scene of the two of them going up to the penthouse. They go up in this elevator and the doors open and you're once again hearing sputtering, squelching, and you're like, uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. And it's this slow turn of Holland and March out of the elevator, and there's a guy who's just clearly dying, his throat's been slit, and they hear fighting from the other direction, and so they slowly turn back and close the door, and then we see someone crash out of the penthouse window and fall to the ground. And we look back at Holland and March just starts very subtly shaking. Like, I think that's another great moment of just the two of them just being absolutely scared shitless
yeah,
about what they're doing. And also another testament to Gosling's comedic timing here.
yeah. I mean, this scene is all of it's so funny in this. I mean, the whole movie, but like this part is like truly what this movie feels like it was like pitched as, where it's like these potential wannabe almost action heroes along this journey that like in the
Mhm.
face of actual evidence get it wrong and go to the wrong place twice and get lucky and then have a chance to redeem themselves and be the action heroes and
Mhm.
fuck it up, and there's comedy mixed in all along the way, but nobody actually laughs. Like all the comedy along this whole movie, nobody's actually laughing. It's
Mhm.
just like
Mhm.
only the audience is laughing.
Yeah.
So it really felt like this, like even though we talk about the party scene as like the memorable scene, this feels like it encapsulates the movie
Yeah.
perfectly. This part here.
Yeah, this feels quite literally like the elevator pitch for the
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
Holland and March then go to flee the hotel because there's a shootout happening and people are dying on the penthouse floor. And March and Healy are arguing because, oh my God, where's Amelia? She's in trouble. March is like, she's dead. She's fucking dead. And at that exact moment, because of course, at that exact moment, Amelia falls onto the hood of their car. shoots through the windshield and then I believe falls onto the ground and passes out. So again, that's so great. The shooting at them, even though they're clearly trying to help her, not that she would know that at that moment, but and then immediately falling backwards and passing out. Great. Fabulous. They take her back to the March house and they kind of question her. They're trying to figure out what's truly going on, what's mom's involvement in all of this. Is mom a good guy or not? And Amelia kind of confirms that no, mom is not on her side. Mom does not have her best interest at heart. And I think at this point, Healy and March are called away by Tally because she says, "Oh, I have a very random and lucrative thing for you to do. Can you transport $100,000 for me?" And Healy goes with him. So Amelia is at the March house. They're questioning her. Healy and March get called away by Tally, seemingly randomly, to transport $100,000. And again, the interaction between March and Tally is hilarious because he is just so head over heels in love with her, even though he's met her once. And back at the house, we finally meet the character John Boy, who I don't know if it was ever truly revealed what his title was, but I'm going to assume it's assassin because this man is a brutal killer with a giant mole and a terrible bowl cut. And it's Matt Bomer also.
It's proof that styling really can be everything, because Matt Bomer is famously almost too attractive.
Yeah.
Beyond measure. And a simple haircut destroyed. His beauty is not shining through in this movie.
No, and I think that's 100% intentional because they want you to focus on his acting in this. Which, again, sad that they have to do that, and also it's the 70s and people wore their hair like that, but whatever. We're gonna say it was a stylistic choice here. I think he does such a good job at coming across both equal parts calm and menacing in this. I remember the first time watching it being like, this guy's not going to be fucking scary. And then he was fucking terrifying to me.
I didn't think he was scary. I thought he was goofy as hell like the rest of the characters.
I guess it's because I never had any prior exposure to Matt Bomer. I feel like that really swayed me.
Maybe knowing what he looks like and seeing how like goofy they styled him.
Yeah, that is.
What did you think?
Yeah, I thought he had I thought he did a pretty good No Country for Old Men thing he had going on. So I definitely found him spooky, at least in a way of this guy is he's a weirdo, but it feels like he's unhinged because he's such a weirdo, but also put together at the same time. So I thought you can't, it's a difficult role because of the nature of this movie that you can't be too purely straight man villainous because it just doesn't fit. You have to have a little bit of quirkiness to you, but if you go too far in that direction, it's just defeats the purpose. So I thought he towed the line pretty well.
Yeah. So this character comes in to swoop in as the family doctor for Amelia at the March house. He's led into the house. Holly and her friend well, not her friend, Holly figures out pretty quickly that this is not a doctor and that he's after Amelia. And again, a testament to Holly's competency as a person, because if she had a, let's say if she had a better father, I don't think she would have been as clued in to John Boy's motivations. And Amelia during this kind of gets fed up and leaves through the window just because she's impatient. And then John Boy starts threatening them, throwing them around. He, I don't know if this is before or after, or as Holland and March are coming back, but he throws Holly's friend out a window,
Yeah.
which is insane.
It's before, because when they get back, he tells them, I threw the little girl out the window.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he's like, I just threw that little girl out the window. Opens his trunk and then opens fire with a machine gun at them. Crazy. There's a whole action sequence that follows, which is great. Some of the better details are Russell Crowe's character going under the kitchen window saying to March, gun. And then March throws a gun just straight out the front window instead of through, and they both go fuck at each other and run away.
That feels like such a trailer scene. Like,
Yeah.
so it like needs to be in, like, I don't even remember if it is. It's been so long, but it just feels like
It
that
feels
needs
like
to
it.
be. It feels like that needs to be in the trailer.
Yeah. John Boy gets away. Holly, her friend, March, and Healy are all okay. And Amelia is running around, ends up running straight into John Boy at his car. And he's kind of like, well, just my luck. Shoots her point blank in the street and drives away. Amelia is dead. And this is really the plot point of the movie that pisses me off the most. And I know it had to happen, but it just felt like such a big buildup for her to die so quickly.
Yeah, this was the one part of the movie that surprised me in a big way. I definitely didn't expect that to happen, but it was I thought it was like kind of perfect. I thought it was the most hilarious and anticlimactic way for this character to die. And yeah, it puts our boys back quite a few steps after she dies. But I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, I felt like it was part of the like we said, like this movie really toes the line between like just kind of being a straightforward, like the beats it's hitting are like kind of expected, and then there's certain times where it's like, oh, not as expected. And the scene where she just gets shot right away, it's just like, it's kind of the thing that you ask in movies all the time. You're like, why aren't people that are trying to kill somebody shooting faster? And the answer to that question is because it ends like this.
Yeah.
And it was just so sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was going to say, it's kind of the culmination, though, of what we were talking about earlier with Matt Bomer's character, John Boy, of just being like, he is not fully like a character in this movie. He's like of a different world.
Definitely. And it's so in line with Amelia. Like, they built it up as unexpected as it is. It just makes so much sense with what they've shown of her character, like showing her a protest group clearly of like overconfident and uninformed teens, and her thinking she's like such a grown-up and can take care of herself, and then she goes off from the two guys that would clearly keep her safe and think she could handle it. And it was subtle building blocks the whole time, but I thought it was like perfectly laid out that she would make this decision, approach a random car after someone was trying to kill her, and then get killed.
Yeah. So again, it is the perfect thing to do. it still makes you angry as an audience member. Not that any other thing wouldn't make you angry with her situation because she is a teen who thinks she knows everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from here, also mentioning the money delivery, there was no money. It was all a trap, obviously, laid out by Tally and Amelia's mother. But the way we find this out is a really what seems to be weird dream sequence where Holland falls asleep at the wheel while driving the car, and all of a sudden there's a gigantic bumblebee in the back of the car that
Hannibal
talks.
Buress.
There you go. Hannibal Buress cameo. I had to watch this so many times to get that it's a payoff of the killer bees commentary that is brought up like twice earlier in the movie. It's like, oh, if you want to worry about anything, you got to worry about these killer bees.
Yeah.
And this is the payoff to that. But if you're watching this movie for the first time, that is an insane pull. To just be
no,
like,
I had no idea.
like, oh yeah, this is a reference to the killer bees thing. And also, what I thought was crazy watching behind the scenes of this, the bee was not CGI. That was a giant puppet that they put in the back seat of that car.
What?
Guys, when I tell you, I almost threw my computer across the room. I was like, of all the things we're going to use budget on, you guys went all out for the bee puppet for Hannibal Buress's 30-second cameo in your one dream sequence in this film. But I think that's the perfect summation of like what Shane Black does of everything needs a payoff and everything that is a question has an answer.
Mm-hmm.
This is just such an extreme way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
After that dream sequence, they crash the car and they find out there's no money and it was all a farce. But what a way to do that.
Chekhov's bee.
Yeah.
Chekhov's bee.
I just remember after that in the theaters being like, what was that dream sequence about?
I liked that movie, but can we talk about that?
Can we talk about the giant bee that was there? Going back to linear storytelling, because that's clearly what I've been doing this whole time. We're learning that the film that Amelia made is not anywhere except at the car show that is conveniently happening at the whatever hotel, and is going to be projected for everyone to see. We just don't know how. So we meet I think we met the projector before, but it's this rando teenager who is just getting a drink at the bar, and we're at the car show now, and John Boy's kind of like, oh, can you come with me? Holly is at the car show with them. I don't know if they're on the floor first or if they go up to... Oh, no, well, they learn where the film is. The film is in the projector room. It's spliced into the actual car films or whatever films they're going to project around the car show. And everyone who is at the car show includes John Boy, Holly, Keith David's character, maybe, yes. Holland, March, Amelia's mother, and Tally. And this is in the projector room where we get the reveal that Tally is truly bad. And I don't think this was a twist. I saw this immediately from when her character was introduced, because if you're going to have this one character fall so completely in love with someone, there's got to be something wrong here. If it's
I thought maybe the mom was gonna be bad, but because Ryan Gosling loved Tally, she was gonna like come through for them and like be a good person. Nope, I was very wrong.
yeah, but again, the slapstick of Holly throwing cold coffee on her, her slipping on the cold coffee, shooting her gun, and then knocking herself out it just feels so incredibly real and unreal at the same time,
It would
but
be
it works
me if I
so
was a
well.
villain. If I ever tried to
Right,
be evil.
right. They take the film, or they attempt to take the film. No, they don't. They do. They don't. Um, March puts a pillow under Tally's head. Great little detail that he still obviously cares about her, even though she's betraying him. The film, I don't know if it stays up there, but it ends up getting flung out the window onto the show floor, where then there is a shootout between John Boy, March, and Healy on these spinning spinning turntables where the cars are displayed. Another funny moment is March sitting on the one side of a car to catch his breath, giving himself a countdown to turn around and shoot at John Boy, and then realizing he's on the complete opposite side of where he was, completely exposed, and also not facing where he wanted to be because the turntable was turning. I mean, this is a really successful action sequence, and I think they really wanted to go all out on the essence of a 70s car show. Not that it looked entirely like a 70s car show, but I think it was successful, and I really did enjoy the action here
Yeah.
specifically.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think how we end up going up to where we end up going up to the roof with March and Holly and Keith David's character. And Keith David's character and Ryan Gosling's character, it's because Keith David's like, I've got a gun to your daughter's back. You're going to follow me.
Mhm.
And they go all the way up to the roof, and Ryan Gosling's character is absolutely out of his mind again because
I thought he was faking it. Am I wrong?
yes, you're
Wait,
you're
I'm wrong.
correct. You're
Oh, sorry.
correct.
You were doing a build up. I'm sorry. You were setting the scene. All right, take two on that. Take two on that. I'll be with it this time.
Oh my god.
I was
It's
like,
like, Kristen, you've seen this movie so many times. You didn't know he was faking it.
I was
I've
like,
seen
wait.
it once.
I was like, wait, did Kristen not know? I had nothing. I
Okay,
didn't
you
know.
thought it too. Okay.
No, wait, I didn't think it until you said it. Then I was like, I don't know. Emma must have really read Kristen there.
I was trying to be dramatic.
All right, take two. Take two. I'll take two. I'll shut my mouth. I'll shut right the fuck up back here and go along for the ride. Man, that's what it feels like to be like a cock blocker for your friends. I just sucked all the energy out of what you were trying to do.
You just cock blocked my dramatic ejaculation. That's so rude. God.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I slowed my rhythm and everything. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Whatever. Let's just end the pod.
It's been off the rails the whole time.
This is why we don't do slow burns. We just say what happens and we get off.
All right. Holland was pretending to be drunk. So he's pretending, and he follows them up to the roof, and he staggers around. He starts crying like a little baby, but he's faking it, and we know he's faking it. And then he tells Holly,
I'm sorry.
He tells Holly to duck. Then he attacks Keith David's character. And then they start duking it out. They start battling. And Keith David and March end up once again falling off a roof because this is just what March's character does. March lands in the pool and Keith David just splats directly onto the ground. I think this next shot of Ryan Gosling's character in the pool turning around, we get a throwaway joke very early on in the movie that when right before you die you see Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
And March turns around in the pool, fully submerged in a suit, is Richard Nixon. And all he does is point directly at March. And March goes, "Nixon!" under the water. And then he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta go." And he gets out of the pool. He's alive, miraculously. They continue this shootout with John Boy going back and forth trying to get the film. They end up outside and on like the valet roof, fighting each other. It's Healy and John Boy now fighting each other, and Holly convinces Healy not to kill John Boy. And I know she's a child. Let the man kill the man. Okay?
I agree.
I was so pissed that this was like her one point that she would not be stubborn on. I get it. I really do. But oh my god, this guy has tried to kill you so many times, but you're going to choose now to be like, "Please spare him."
I got nervous. I got nervous he was going to turn around and shoot Russell Crowe.
That's what I mean, because that's what he would do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we're wasting time talking about like, you shouldn't do it. You're better than us. You can't shoot this guy. But
wait, Kristen, I just remembered the diving board story.
What was the diving board story?
The diner story he tells him at that point.
Oh, thank you. Oh my god.
It made me think of it. I was trying to remember like his moral background.
Yes. So Russell Crowe's character does not kill John Boy. Holland gets the film, but also randomly throughout this, John Boy also just has grenades, and they're just going off at random. But one of them was on him. He gets rid of it. It blows up a car. Almost blows himself up.
I love that part of it. Just having grenades in this situation is so funny.
And the way the pin is accidentally pulled somehow by Healy, how do you manage that? So now it's the very end of this fight scene. March has the film. We've seen parts of the film, but not all of it. He has the copy of it. John Boy is defeated, not dead. And after this, I think we meet at the train station where Amelia's mother sits with Healy and March, kind of like back to back, but also side to side on the bench. And March starts saying like, pretend we don't know her, and starts speaking gibberish German. And it's a great bit because she's like, "What the hell is wrong with him?" And Healy leans over and he goes, "I think he's comparing you to Hitler."
Yes.
And she just like kind of goes on and is like, "I did what was best for my daughter, and you're not going to take down Detroit and all these companies and blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever. Okay. Your daughter's dead. How could you not care about that?"
Yeah.
And we're learning, of course, they can only do so much. And we kind of enter into this. It's an epilogue because it's a couple months later after that. They're at a Mexican restaurant and Healy is seen drinking again for the first time because he's kind of at this point of like, well, what did I really change?
Yeah.
Nothing. And it kind of ends of where the two of them are now partnering in being private investigators. and we and the little hand-drawn drawing that's on the newspaper does not show Healy in the best way, but would you say he looks like Mexican or something? Or no,
Filipino.
Filipino. Sorry, Filipino. And it shows how upset Healy is with the world that he's started drinking again, but at the same time, Healy is now has a friend in March and vice versa, and March and his daughter are starting to heal their relationship, which is nice to see. And then it kind of ends from there. I know we've missed some things, but I have done so terribly in conveying the plot of this film that it shows you how long I've been off the game.
No, like you said, it's such a tough movie because it does so much little droplets of things along the way that don't feel important, and then when you get to the later point, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to say this because it was important, but at the time, as you're moving through it, they're not big plot points. They're like goofy little one-offs. So
Yeah.
it's hard to recap this movie because everything that feels important later on doesn't feel important at the time it happens.
Yeah.
It's a complex plot for sure.
It's a complex plot on like while you're also trying to recap and like explain the comedy of this movie too. Like you want to
100%.
it's the main like it really is a comedy on top of everything, but it's like, and you want to convey all that, but at the same time it's like, this mystery that's unveiling in front of you too. It's actually not just like pushing the plot of a comedy. It's like actually important.
Right.
It's like the opposite of Frances Ha and why am I blanking on the Frances Ha and
Everybody Wants Some?
Everybody Wants Some, where both of those movies are literally just scenes that have nothing to do with other scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
And this movie has everything to do with
everything else. Yeah. So we've hit both ends of the spectrum here.
We really have.
I'm gonna say, comparing it to Everybody Wants Some, I think I chose this movie after we watched Everybody Wants Some because I felt a similar way about the score and the music tracks for this movie that I did for Everybody Wants Some. I love all the music.
At the end of this movie, when you get Horse with No Name, it hits so hard every time. It's just like, yeah, that sums it up. It's just watching him drive to that. You're like, yeah, he has been through the desert on a horse with no name. If anybody has,
it's him. And it also starts with Papa Was a Rolling Stone, which I think is a great representation of 70s popular music and just like the explosion of soul and funk at that time. And the way their logo is styled for this movie is also so 70s. And I think that was I wrote it down here, even though I've seen it so many times. I was like, I'm sold within the first 20 seconds, and if nothing else, you got me on that. You have a great hook for me.
The big 70s thing that really hit this whole movie too was everything was hilarious wallpapering throughout the whole movie. Every shot, the background was just like wild wallpapers.
Also another thing I wrote down that I didn't notice until this watch actually was that March wears his wedding ring on a chain around his neck. And we only see it maybe once or twice, like out and about, but it's such a small detail that like made me cry a little bit. Oh, and maybe I should have mentioned the part where his house burnt down because he couldn't smell a gas leak in the house. Maybe I should have mentioned that.
Oh
God, Jesus fucking Christ.
yeah. All right, folks, who's the hottest?
Thank you. Someone else take this from me.
Emily DeSoff.
Oh, Ryan Gosling for me. I mean,
Nick.
yeah, I have nothing. Yeah.
It's a pretty fucked up thing to say, but
Don't do it.
Misty Mountains is pretty
hot.
Oh,
I thought you were gonna say Russell Crowe. My heart.
I mean, it would be a weird choice, but I don't know if it'd be fucked up.
Fucked up to me because I hate him so much.
Damn, get him.
Like, just the bloody chick?
Yeah.
Bloody trick.
Not Margaret Qualley?
No, I mean, she's attractive, but not necessarily for me all the time.
She's no Misty Mountains.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay. I think it's also just the circumstance of it coming like right out of the gate with that shot of her naked. I'm just like, I mean, I've never seen a woman whose natural nipples look like that. Goddamn. Maybe they were prosthetic. Maybe they went the route of the substance. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I doubt it. My hottest is also obviously Ryan Gosling, and I have to pour one out for his pre-plastic surgery cheeks, because what did he do? What did he do? Because here it's just such chef's kiss. It was great. They styled him well, even though he's disheveled for half the film, but it was great. And I mean, Russell Crowe was there. He's just there.
He was.
Sorry, he's not going to be a contender for me.
He's not a contender. Recipe? Some chocolate milk. Yoo-hoo. Is Yoo-hoo even chocolate milk, technically?
No. Chocolate drink.
Yeah.
Chocolate drink. Well, you can make your own Yoo-hoo at home watching this movie, or you can just make some good old-fashioned chocolate milk.
Hell yeah. And what are you making it out of? Are you using, what kind of milk you using? What kind of syrup you using? Tell us.
If I'm making it for me, your girl has a sensitive tummy, so I'm probably using oat milk, but it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're having a proper one, it's got to be whole milk. And I think it really just has to be chocolate syrup. I don't think you need to go fancier.
Yeah. That's
no Ovaltine.
No Ovaltine. No powder. Get the powder out of here.
What am I, Annie Oakley? What the hell is?
I actually grew up. That's a great sentence. I was about to say I grew up on the powder, but it sounds like a way different.
I grew up on that powder. I tell you what, we were having it every night. All right, good for you. Good for your Ovaltine then, I guess. I don't know.
Not bad.
I don't like it, so that's just me. But what are your final thoughts on this film, guys?
I'll just say this. I'll watch it again.
Good.
One thing about me, I will watch this movie again at some point.
And I gotta say, I probably won't ever watch this movie again. I enjoyed it for what it was. But that's all I need. I got what I needed out of my one watch.
Yeah, this movie can be on while I'm showing it to someone else and I'm actively watching it, or I'm cleaning up and I'm running the vacuum. Call back.
Oh my god. Damn it.
It'll just be on in the background, and that's just as good with me too.
Yeah, I agree. This is probably my 10th watch of this film, so it does not get old for me, and I'll always love it. So thank you for entertaining me with it.
Loved it. It was a great watch.
All right, shall we see y'all next week then?
Nick, do you have a closing quote?
Yeah, I mean, if you have one,
I don't.
feel free.
I knew you guys
Okay.
both did.
It's another callback that we had mentioned. Don't say and stuff. Just say they're doing anal.
And
Goodbye.
scene.